Hey folks, this is Picohan from the North American server, and this is once again a game in the Bayern. This is a fairly old replay, but I still think it's a really good game, and a good example of how a game can be close, but not by the number of ships. You can see here on the minimap, and I typed it in the chat, that this is not a good start. We had two destroyers run over to the A-cap, and nobody went with them, and now they are facing the consequences. It's made a little bit worse by the fact that it seems like their whole team wanted to go that way. So I'm trying to stay close to the center of the map, try to pick off these targets, and hopefully we can make a move, towards B, because we need to head in that direction, and hopefully eventually get over to our destroyers over there. The Ochotnik smoked up us here, but I don't think it was that useful of a smoke, since there's not too much we can fire at, and they're all pretty far away. Shot at the Cleveland, because, well, he's the only thing visible, but as usual, you should always shoot at cruisers, because you can delete them, but he made an excellent dodge, and I didn't hit him at all. But I think this is a dumb move by the Cleveland to push the center. I think he knows the Ochotnik is there, he knows something's there, and he wants to take him out. But I think he's overextending strongly. You can see on the minimap that their team is kind of bunched up below the B cap, so I didn't quite want to push yet. That New York took a huge amount of damage. People say the New York has some armor, but it really doesn't stand up against the 15-inch shells of the Bayern. But since the Cleveland is broadside, he's a really good target now. As I said before, I think he overextended a lot, and now he's going to be punished, hopefully.
Concentrate fire on the designated target.
You saw that I had to move my cursor over the Cleveland before I could mash that target button thing. That's a really annoying thing you have to do to call the target. Just want to finish off the Cleveland, hopefully. I think someone takes him out. Great. So now, somehow, we only lost one destroyer on the west side, and we've actually taken the C cap, while their team has continued to go over to the west side. So now I think I'm going to try to push towards the center again, since there's less concentration of enemies there. Cleveland is giving pretty good broadside, but he's also pretty far away. Bayern does not have the greatest accuracy, but those shots, that grouping looked pretty good. But we didn't get a citadel or anything on that Cleveland. We are down in ships, but we are up in points. So at least at this point, it's still a close game. And despite the rough start, things have settled down a little bit. There's a Cleveland trying to cap the center, and he's kind of the guy I want to go after. But I gotta get around this island first. So now we're getting pretty close to the Cleveland, and our shot should be a little bit more accurate. Despite doing a bit of sniping, we already have 24,000, which is not great, but it's not bad either. It used to be suspected that the Cleveland had some sort of split citadel, but if you look at the thing in the armor viewer, it has a low citadel in the front, a low one in the back, and a little bit higher in the middle. And that's kind of what makes it a little bit more difficult to hit than others, because if you hit the front or the back citadel, you generally won't get anything into it. Let's get an overpen or an overpen. I did get a citadel on this guy, and even though I wanted to go into the center, I felt that the pressure was still a little too hard. So I'm going to angle, go around the bottom island, and try to push in again. I think that was a fairly good example of feeling when you're going to overextend and then falling back when you need to. Because again, the game is still fairly balanced. We are even in ships, and the enemy team only has about 60 more points, and no one has capped the V-cap yet. Since it's only battleships visible, I'm shooting at the closest thing. You should be able to overmatch the bow of the Bayern, but we just got one overpen. Now here I see the planes coming, and I know I will have to maneuver to dodge them, but I want to be doing that on my gun cooldown. So I take a shot. I was going to focus on the planes, but the planes pulled back a little bit.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Enemy destroyer is probably up there. You saw his torps. Once again, I want to get a salvo off before dealing with the planes, but that proved to be a little bit too greedy, because this guy's going to hit me with a couple torps. Note that I didn't use my damage control until he also torped me, and then I used it ahead of the torps hitting me to mitigate some of the flooding damage. If I was a better torpedo dodger, I probably could have eaten one less torp. But now, unfortunately, I'm fairly low relative to the other ships in this group here. And so I'm going to fall back a little bit and let them take some of the heat while I heal up. We were lucky to get the Fiji, though, before he went into smoke or dropped off. The Kamikaze R over there has been quite annoying.
Torpedoes to starboard.
I'm not sure how he sneaked out here between all of our ships. It looks like he wants to go after the Ranger. I don't know if he knows that the Ranger's in there, but if the Ranger keeps moving, the Ranger's pretty fast, and he should be able to stay out of the Kamikaze's reach. I don't necessarily want to go back there myself to chase him down, because if you chase down a DD, you're asking for trouble, especially in a battleship. Call target on York because he's almost dead. Since I can't actually shoot at him, it'll be the Bayern. So now that the
Torpedoes to starboard.
center cap has fallen into the enemy's hands,
Torpedoes to
the
starboard.
points lead is starting to open up. These torps scared me, but luckily they timed out. And I think we're going to take out both the Bayern and the York momentarily. The Kamikaze does get the sea cap, but now we're up by 2 ships. And we actually have a points lead, despite the fact that we're losing all 3 caps shortly. So someone is going to say push B, and we really do have to do that for real at this point. So once again, since I am the lower health ship, I let my division mate Hiroe go inside the B cap before me. I'm very confident though that between me and him we can take out the Arizona, who is guarding the B cap right now. The Bayern, of course, is a very good brawler, since it can't take citadels that easily, and it has okay secondaries. Again, the 15-inch guns should be able to overmatch the bow armor of the Arizona, and I think that's what you're seeing right there. I'm slowing down a little bit here because I want to turn my guns, and I also know that the Arizona will have to angle against Hiroe or myself eventually, and he's probably going to angle against the closer one. So what I want to happen is to put some distance between myself and Hiroe and be able to shoot at the broadside of the Arizona when the Arizona inevitably has to angle. Otherwise, if the Arizona angles towards me, Hiroe will be able to attack the broadside of the Arizona. And so here you can see the Arizona is giving a good broadside. I don't get any citadels, and actually that's a fairly lousy shot, but I think I aimed a little bit too far forward. That was a good shot despite having no citadels. Again, probably could have aimed a little bit further back. I tried to aim in that forward section because I thought that usually the citadel is easier to hit under the turrets than under the belt, but apparently that was not the case. I didn't think I would get this Koenig kill, actually, but Hiroe has his guns turned towards the Arizona, and he'll have to turn the guns all the way around before he can shoot at the Koenig. And so I'm going to get a crack in here, and I'm hardly paying attention. So now, here's the dilemma. What do we do? We will have 1 cap, and they'll have 2 caps. We're a little bit behind in points, but we have an overwhelming ship advantage. I was hoping that we could go, block the A cap, block the C cap, and if nobody dies, which it didn't look like anyone's going to die, we would be able to block their points and then eventually either kill them or win on points. The Kamikaze's been chasing the Ranger this whole time, and the Ranger has been getting away successfully, but the Ranger is going to do something that's almost going to put the game in jeopardy. If the Ranger just kept running, I don't think there would have been any way for the Kamikaze to catch him, even if the Kamikaze is marginally fast in a straight line, because the Ranger will force him to maneuver as he tries to torp and bomb him. The other Ranger I don't really think is a threat against all of our ships over there on the A side. So if the Ranger just kept moving, we would have killed that guy or blocked A cap, and then I've gotten a C cap, and again we would have won on points or whatever. However, right here, the Ranger makes this ridiculous turn into the island, and I have no idea why he did this. And as soon as I see this, I thought, oh crap. Even if this guy somehow wanted to close the distance between himself and the kamikaze, he could have just slowed down. There was no reason to turn around, potentially run aground, which is what I think he's done, and make himself an easy target. I don't think dodging torps is an excuse either, because he could have kept air cover over the kamikaze the whole time, and he should have seen any torps coming from like miles away. So I'm completely befuddled by this. That being said, our team has now killed the Ranger, and even if our Ranger had stayed alive, we might not have gotten enough points to make up the deficit. It seems pretty obvious at this point now, with only a minute left, that we do have to kill the kamikaze. Unfortunately, all of those shots missed. Again, I don't know how this Ranger took these torps, since he had air cover over the kamikaze basically the whole time. But luckily, I'm going to pull out the game-winning shot here just as the kamikaze drops off. And he thought he had the game too when we took it.
Enemy destroyer sunk.
So I think you'll agree that that was a close game, despite the fact that we were massively ahead in ships at the end there. In fact, it might even be lucky that the Ranger did that move at the end there, because if he had kept running and the kamikaze had survived, we might not actually have been able to win in points. Anyway, looking at the end results here, there's nothing too spectacular, but 6 kills is something you don't see that often, so I'm pretty happy with that result. That's it for this time. Have a nice day.